Hey guys, my name is Emily Frazier. I'm a photographer based in Memphis, Tennessee, and I recently asked for some questions on social media for a Q&A video. So I've got my tea and I'm just going to jump right in. What do you do outside of work? So usually outside of work, I am hanging out with friends. I'm going to coffee shops. If I'm traveling, then I try to take a day out of that weekend for work to explore the place that I'm at, meet up with some friends that I know there, make some new friends in coffee shops. I like to cook when I'm home. That's something I've been interested in. And my favorite recipe is currently the butternut squash crust pizza. I think it's in Naomi Smart's recipe book. I'll put it in the description below. Oh yeah, that girl, Ashton, asked, do people that went to college warn you or discourage you about not going to college? If so, what is your response? So before I decided not to go to college officially, there was some concern from different people, like my parents were asking questions, as well as my parents' friends and even my friends, because there are a lot of scenarios in life and in jobs in the future that a degree would be really helpful or even necessary. Once I decided that I wasn't going to college, it was almost full encouragement and support from there. I've never really run into anyone that told me that I made the wrong decision, because as I've been able to have something that I was pursuing and I had this career that I was going towards with photography, it wasn't like I just decided not to go and was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. I already had a plan to start with. And so a lot of my friends that are in college currently, even though they get to enjoy the social and the events and the school spirit, they've even told me that they almost feel more lost within college because they're trying to choose their major and they have a lot of pressure to choose it before a certain date. Then when they hit graduation, they go through that senior panic just like they did in high school. And so that's something that I have thankfully had to avoid by not going to college. That photographer life asked, what advice would you give to someone who is feeling dry of creativity? What would be your suggestions for how that person would pursue and incorporate creativity into their daily lives? So the number one thing that you have to know is that when you're creative and you're pursuing creativity, even as a job or even as a hobby, creativity block is completely normal. It happens to writers, it happens to artists who are painting. They just stop and they can't even look at the canvas again for a couple weeks. So it's totally normal. Some of the things that I've done to help it start rolling again and get the juices flowing would be making sure that I am not just drowning out my silence constantly. I think when I get really stressed and I don't like hearing, the sound of my own voice or the sound of my own thoughts, I'm always playing Netflix in the background of things. I'm always playing music. I'm always playing YouTube videos or something in the background, and I don't ever sit in the silence and just let myself think and face the issues that are blocking me. Number one thing would be sitting down, pulling out a blank piece of paper and just writing down everything that you've been thinking, and you would be really surprised the emotional things that would be the actual cost of your creativity. And then as of incorporating it into your daily life, there's different things that you could do. Having a morning routine where you don't actually do anything creative, where you're just taking care of yourself and you don't just plunge yourself into work automatically, would be really important. Taking care of your mental health and your body, so making sure that you're drinking enough water, making sure that you're eating healthy. A lot of the time artists are the ones who are not exercising and not taking care of their bodies because we have this one-track mind where we get this project and we have to see it through and we won't stop, we won't drink, we won't go to the bathroom, we won't exercise at all. That is, in one way, our success because we have this crazy drive, but another way it's our loss because then we go through these crazy periods of just completely block. Definitely putting in yoga and implementing exercising and just doing all those things to take care of yourself and mental health is really important for your creativity. Olivia May asked, what are the best tools for getting raw emotion in photos? There's multiple things because I've been trying to do this since I was 14 or 15, and I still feel like I have so much to learn how to do this, and it will always surprise me how much emotion can be captured and how little can be. So some of the things that have really helped me sort of draw that out in different clients and different subjects would be asking them questions and allowing it to be interaction over this camera barrier between the person in front and the person behind. And so one of the things that has major helped me, even with family portraits and couples and weddings, is the Unposed Field Guide. And that's by Love is a Big Deal, and they are all about stop posing and start playing. And so their focus is to allow there to be this constant flow of experience and not this heavy, now we move here and you put your hand here and then you do this. And even throughout learning the Unposed Guide, I've developed my own sort of style with it, so that during a wedding day and even during an engagement shoot and things like that, I make sure that there's moments where they are just alone and I'm not pushing anything on them, where I just give them some sort of subject matter to talk about, or just a moment to be alone and tell them, think about what just happened. You're married, breathe in the moment, talk to each other. What was your favorite parts about the vows? And allowing them to have that moment, and almost sacrificing my own time where I could be getting an extensive amount of images just so that they can talk and feel and know where they are in their day. And those photos actually end up being the better ones. I have a whole video about that one. KGB_20, Caitlin, asked, what is one thing other than traveling that you wish you could do more of? Well, you know me well, Caitlin, because I definitely always wish that I could be traveling. I wish that I could do more simple art and more broad spectrum of art. I spend a lot of my time behind the camera and behind a computer, and I've been able to develop a lot of my artistic ability through that, but I've lost the time and sort of the motivation to sit down and paint and draw and try videography and try graphic design and illustrations and watercolor and all these different things that I used to really get to experiment. When I was in high school, I took art classes. We were always focusing on tangible mediums and not digital mediums, and I miss working with my hands. If I could spend more time on one thing, it would be just working with my hands and learning about other forms of art. JP Shar asked, what's your fave thing from Chipotle? Definitely a bowl, chicken, corn, the mildest of salsa, because I can't handle spicy, black beans and pinto beans, lettuce, and guacamole on the side because it's worth it. I'm waiting for the day that Chipotle does not make you pay extra for guacamole on the side. Verity.hwill asked, what's your favorite thing about being a third culture kid? I have two things that are my favorite. Number one would be having lots of connections and friends overseas. Even though I stayed in the same place for 14 years, we had families and people that were just coming in and out of our lives that were from a load of different countries. So I know people in New Zealand and Germany and England. It served really well in my travels, as well as my perspective on just making friends and how far people can go, and that goodbyes aren't really forever. And I've seen people that I thought I was saying goodbye to forever, and I've been able to see them recently. People ask me how I network and how I get these jobs overseas or around the country. It's kind of hard because it's not something that I really earned. It's just something that happened to me because I was a third culture kid. So my second favorite thing would be, with growing up abroad and moving here to the States, and recently been moving around. In the last 2 years, I've moved 3 times between apartments and houses. I don't ever feel at home. And even though that sounds really sad, it's made my job really easy and made me sort of projecting my future a lot easier, because I don't feel this clutch to a certain place or this hold on a certain country or a certain city. And so it's allowed me to sort of allow the Lord to do whatever he wants to do, and not to be afraid of moving to another country, even if I have to learn a language. And it allows me to feel really flexible when I'm traveling and really live in the moment. And I feel like I get to live little parts of life, like 1 month in Europe, and I get to spend 10 days and live in Lyon. And I feel like I really experience living there because I allow it to be my home for that section of time. A.E. Glunts asked, what's your favorite equipment piece that you have? My favorite piece of equipment is my holder fast double camera harness. So it's called the Camera Swag, and it's probably one of their newest ones they've released because it is the vegan version. All the other holder fasts are leather, and they are expensive. This was pretty expensive, but it was 100% worth it because my chiropractor was complaining how I was always hunched forward because I'm always hunched over my camera. And so one of the things that I invested in was this, because the 2 cameras sit on your hips right behind you, and so it pulls my shoulders back while I'm shooting. And it also gives me the availability to shoot with 2 cameras with 2 separate lenses, so that this doesn't happen again. On my poor little 50, I've dropped it like 3 times in the middle of a road, so that doesn't happen anymore. Yes, the camera swag by Holderfast. Taylor Caterly asked, how do you challenge yourself to grow in your skills as a wedding photographer? I'm gonna try to morph it so I can say wedding photographer / photographer. Some of the top things that I do to help to challenge myself would be, 1, critically looking at my photos and culling only the ones that I truly want to deliver, so that when I deliver them, they're only the best. And I really struggle with that. My sister has actually been going through my galleries and selecting my best portfolio work, and there's so many images per wedding. I completely over deliver. One of the things that I'm doing to challenge myself is to really critically cull. Another thing that I do is vision boarding. Instagram has a new feature where you get to save photos that inspire you, and you can save them in different albums. Pinterest does that. I actually screenshot things and save them in a swipe folder. Every once in a while, when I'm feeling creatively dry, I kind of compile and just look at all those things and pinpoint what are the things that I love about that. And then another thing that I do is decide what are words that I want people to think, feel when they see my images. Some of the words that I've really pinpointed over the last couple years has been emotion, culture, color, and honesty. Pinpointing what you want people to feel when they see your images or think of when you see your images helps you when you're developing them later. You say, how could I have done that better? How could I have communicated that? Know your couples. Make sure that you're getting to know your couples. Make sure that you're doing everything you can on the wedding day, questioning, how can I make this their best gallery, not my best gallery? This is their wedding day. Jenny Elise Thompson asked, which rom-com leading lady is most like you? Me and Lizzie just discussed this, and we have decided from the movie When in Rome, the actress is Kristen Bell, and she plays the character of Beth, and I don't even know how to describe her. I feel like she's just too busy for any sort of love life, and so she's like, I'm at work, and she flies to Rome for 24 hours, and she's like always trying to find reception. Even though I think that's like an exaggerated of me, I definitely am always working, so that would be my rom-com lead. I'm not a very dramatic person, so. Joanna Tutlow was, what was your favorite shoot location? I have 2. One was I photographed a couple in Lyon, France while I was visiting some of my friends. It was just so beautiful. Everything was pastels. There was a river in the middle. They dressed up in their wedding clothes, and we just had a lot of fun, and it was really inspiring to just see all those different kinds of architecture and cobble roads, and they were really excited to do it. And then my second, I absolutely loved shooting in Virginia. I love the foliage in Virginia. My first wedding I ever did there was last year in Lynchburg area. The couple just said, like, we can go wherever you want for an hour, and so we just went into sort of the campgrounds of where their reception was, and it was absolutely beautiful. Emily Schaefer asked, where do you see yourself and or hope to see yourself in 10 years? I'm not really one for trying to project my future. I have vague ideas that I hope I'm still doing art. I hope I'm still creating in some sort of way and consistently collaborating with different artists. 2 would be, I hope that wherever I am, the table that I'm sitting at for meals is always full. I have no idea what that means, but I've always just thought that in the future there will always be people at my table. 3rd would be, I hope that I am in some sort of community that loves me well and that I can really love well. I sort of hope that I'm living in a big city. I hope that I'm somewhere that I would have never lived before. So that was my Q&A. Thank you everyone who asked questions and commented on my photos. Hopefully I'll be doing more YouTube videos. I'm really excited about this new medium to use. Subscribe if you so want. And thank you. Join in for next time. Hey guys. They just make it so loud. They're like, oh.
I should have known it's a Thursday.
We should have known better.
We should have known. Darn good camera.
It's a darn good camera. Get you one. If you have them on. I obviously always wish I could do more traveling. There's a cat outside. Oh gosh. Okay. There's a cat behind my car.
I'm scratching my ankle. Don't mind me. I'm sorry.
I thought you were trying to fart conspicuously. You were like, you had that face. All right.